In today's episode, I discuss the 75 Hard Challenge and how I'm feeling being 2/3 of the way through it. Welcome to Monologues by Hassie. Today is day 50 of my 75 Hard Challenge. And for those of you who haven't heard of it, it is a program based off a book by a man called Andy Frisella. And as part of the challenge, what you do is you do two 45-minute workouts a day. One of the workouts needs to be outdoor, and the workouts need to be spaced at least 3 hours apart. So if one workout ends at 9 a.m., then the second workout can't begin until 12 p.m. So you need a 3-hour gap. You can't have alcohol for the duration of the challenge, and you need to define a diet. You can define whatever you want, but you can't have any cheat meals. So whatever you decide to do, you also need to stick to it. As per the official rules, you should also drink a gallon of water, that is 3.8 liters, read 10 pages of nonfiction, and take a daily progress photo. Now, I made a few adaptations to this. I am not a particularly large person. I'm about 5'5", and right now I weigh somewhere between 65 and 70 kilos. So for me, drinking 3.8 liters of water is a great way to drown myself. So this requirement I threw out the window, not following that one. I did add two other requirements, and one was daily meditation. So I attempt 30 minutes of meditation a day. And I'm also doing 30 minutes of language learning a day. And I can use any resource I like, but I need to be immersed in, for me, learning Sinhalese at the moment. So going back over my mother language, because it is a longer term goal that I want to be a lot more fluent than I am currently. So these are my kind of modifications to the 75 Hard program. It's really the meditation, the language learning being added, and the removal of the water requirements. But otherwise, I have been doing the 2 workouts a day. I've been reading 10 pages of nonfiction at least, not having cheat meals. And it has been an interesting experience. Now, some of you are probably digesting the requirements of this. If you haven't heard of it before, it is something that people seem to have heard of in my circles. It seems to go around. It's been in the algorithms. But it is one of these things where the purpose is not to lose weight. It's not necessarily a fitness challenge. It's not a weight loss challenge. It's not even a get stronger challenge. It's just something to develop discipline, fortitude, and mental resilience. So, and I will say that much, that being day 50, it is quite, and I don't want to use this word, it can be quite depressing. And let me give you some context as to why this is in the context of things that people do in their day-to-day lives. Yesterday, I had a friend's birthday party. She hired a boat, and so I had to be there at a particular time in the morning so we could all board the boat and spend 4 hours on the boat. It was a beautiful cruise in Sydney Harbour. Very grateful to that friend, and I hope she had a great birthday. But before I woke up that morning, it was a Saturday morning. I was quite tired from Friday. I'd had dinner with my parents. They were over. I was quite exhausted. It had been quite a long week, and I was quite sleep deprived earlier in the week as well. And here I am waking up in the morning, and I'm doing 400 push-ups and other calisthenic workouts to do my first 45-minute workout outdoors. And so before I've woken up in the morning, I've dragged myself out of bed, even though I wanted to stay in bed and sleep in and take my sweet time getting ready to go to this party. And then I've gone to the party. And now when I'm at the party, my diet is no added sugar. So I can't eat most of the food. I need to stick to the things which don't have sauces, just really plain vegetables. I had some potato chips, but they were the plain potato chips where it's just potato, salt. Anything with seasoning I can't eat, because generally a lot of the seasonings contain sugar. So you can imagine how that works. As part of my diet, I also cut out coffee. So I wake up on Saturday tired. Am I grabbing a cappuccino to power me through my morning? No, I'm not. At best, on certain days, I will have decaf. And so I go to this party, I have a great time for 4 hours, and there are kick-ons later in the night. But I can't go straight from the boat party to the kick-ons at the pub. And why? Because I need to go and I need to finish my meditation, I need to finish off my reading, and I need to do my second workout. So after this boat party, while everybody else is either getting ready for the next segment or going to the pub, here I am doing a 1 hour walk. I think I walked over 5 kilometers. I came home, I did my meditation, I finished my reading, and then I did all of the other adult things that I have to do. Ironed my clothes, got ready, went out. And so here I am, and I also chowed down as much food as I could within my parameters before I went out, because I know that it's very hard for me. It's significantly harder for me to eat out at restaurants at the moment. And so that's an example of a day that in the past, when I wasn't doing this challenge, might have just been a really relaxing day. I would have written it off in terms of trying to do any intensive exercise. Now, mind you, I'm somebody who, for the last we're approaching a year and a half, I've been running 20Ks, swimming 2Ks, doing 3 calisthenic workouts, and at least 60 push-ups a day. I've been doing that for 1.5 years. But if you look at my week, this is what I do every week, mind you. But if you look at how I typically split that up on the week, I have days of rest. Now I have no days of rest. At the very least, I am out walking twice a day to meet the requirements of the challenge. So I have felt quite worn out. Now, if you go back to the scenario of my friend's birthday party, that sounds like a pretty exhausting day. Not only did I go out and use my social batteries, but I also had to make sure that I did all my tasks. Now, there have been days where there was a day where I went to a rave and I did everything before I went. It was at 2 p.m. It started at 2 p.m. and I remember I spent the entire morning getting everything done. And I only got into the venue at about 5, 6. Luckily, it went till the end of the night. But I've still been trying to have a social life, hang out with my friends, enjoy things, also dealing with work, dealing with the stresses of life. And on top of it, you've got to stick to this routine, this regiment, these daily requirements. And that is quite tough because there are so many days where I don't want to do that. And even today, I went and hung out with a friend. I really didn't want to. It's not that I didn't want to because I thought it was an unpleasurable thing, but because I was so exhausted. I finished an 8-kilometer run in the morning and I didn't really like the idea of staying out. And I couldn't stay out for a long time. I think I stayed out for about an hour and a half. And then I had to leave because I had to come home. I actually walked home, took a very long walk home, did my 145-minute walk, and then I went about adulting. And it is quite demanding. And on top of this, I feel like the universe has been conspiring to make this period quite challenging for me. And it seems like the projects at work where I'm involved, what's the best way to say this? I think if I can be tested, I am being tested. I absolutely think this is very true. For whatever reason, the universe has decided that as you're doing this 75 hard challenge, and mind you, let me add that there are many people who are going through much, much harder things. This is completely voluntary. It's something that I have chosen to do. But it does seem like the universe has said, Hassie, if we can make your life hard, we are going to make it harder. And there have been so many things that have happened. At work, there are projects which seem to be, hanging on by a thread. And it is mentally exhausting to deal with this day in, day out, week in, week out, because there seems to be a new problem every week. And that is what I get paid to do. And at the same time, when I have these problems, I'm not resorting to my regular vices. I'm not having a froyo. I'm not drinking a beer. I'm not, skipping workouts for 2 or 3 days just so I can go partying, right? That's not happening. I am in this, almost I want to say I'm in this self-induced drudgery where every single day I need to keep things together. And I know this doesn't sound inherently positive, but this is how I feel on day 50. And it's quite interesting looking back over the past 50 days, and I had to restart as well at the start. I got to day 6 the first time I attempted, and I had to restart because I ordered a soda lime and I was given a lemonade instead. But this has been immensely challenging. So when I started the challenge, I think the hardest thing for me wasn't the workouts I was doing. It was that immediately was the fact that I cut out caffeine. When I cut out caffeine, I went through withdrawal symptoms, and that was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And going through caffeine withdrawal and trying to do work was a very interesting thing. Like, I was at work, but I was so grumpy because I didn't have, I was, literally a drug addict without their drug. And that really made me appreciate how much of a drug caffeine is and how dependent we are on it. And then there was a period in the middle where maybe after day 25, 30, you're taking a progress photo every day and you do look at yourself. And I was like, wow, after 30 days, after about 4 weeks of doing this, like we're a month in, I'm like, wow, I actually look really good. I look better. And I remember hanging out with some family friends, and it was a pool party, and they're like, wow, you look like you might be on your last day of your 75 hard challenge. And I'm like, I still feel like I have a long way to go. But there has been validation in those respects. But interestingly, now that I'm at day 50, I'm at this spot where it is so monotonous. I no longer crave things like sugar. I remember very early on, I would stop outside candy stores, and I'm not a big candy person. I like my chocolate. I'm not a big fan of like sweets where it's, predominantly just sugar-based. But I would stop outside a candy store and just look at it. There was like a craving for it. And this is something that, now that's gone. But my current existence is incredibly low dopamine. Even when I'm out with people, I am tired. And there are reasons for this. It's because I'm juggling work and having these projects which haven't been easy as of recent. They have been quite demanding. And it is an unfortunate, and I say unfortunate, and I laugh as I say this. It's unfortunate that all these things combine. And then in my personal life, I've been dating. And I've been dating throughout the 75 hard period, right? As I've been doing this. And that's also been volatile, and there's positives and negatives. But I'm in this low dopamine existence. And then I also found out that my lease is coming up to an end. So now I know that I have 3 months to find a new place to live. And so all these additional stresses have seemed to combine as I'm doing 75 hard. But as I say, this feels like the universe conspiring to teach me something, to teach me. It's as if we're going to teach you discipline, fortitude, mental resilience. We're going to turn your life into an absolute shitstorm. You are going to have to go through these 75 days, and it's going to be more than that for me. It's going to be like 80 days. You're going to have to go through these 80 days and just suffer, right? It's almost a quarter of the year. It's not quite a quarter of the year, but I'm almost spending an entire quarter voluntarily making my suffering worse. But there's a good reason I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I think I've been stuck. That's the way to put it. I think I've been stuck on many things where I feel like I'm just chipping along, I'm just chugging along. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. Sometimes the benefits of compounding is these small, marginal, incremental gains that seem like nothing. They're not something you can really have great applause over. But they add up over time. And I think, for me, taking on 75 hard is a way for me to kickstart some of the things that I really value. I mean, I'm looking forward. I don't think when I finish this challenge, I want to go back to being dependent on caffeine. Now, will I have the occasional coffee? Yeah, that would be nice. But I've gotten used to the idea that I shouldn't need it. In fact, my sleep has probably been better than ever. But whilst the quality of my sleep has gone up, when I hit the hay now, I truly hit the hay and I sleep quite well. I still do suffer from insomnia. That is something that I think I've dealt with for a long time. But even if I look at how many days I have insomnia per month or per week, it has reduced since cutting out caffeine. And obviously, I'm so tired because I'm working out twice a day. I'm trying to get my job done. I'm trying to find time to read, to meditate, and also hang out with friends and go on dates. It is quite challenging. And there have been many times where I have probably gotten to... burnout is the wrong word. I don't think I'm anywhere near burnt. I've burnt out in the past before. I know what that's like, but I definitely feel like I am on the cusp. I am kind of, I'm at the bite point of the clutch. I'm balancing the burnout zone and the not burnout zone. But I also know that it's not a time for me. And like I said, the universe has conspired that it is not the time for me to cut back on things like hanging out with my friends or trying to date or trying to meet somebody, because this is the worst thing I can do at the moment. Right now, as I record this podcast, I'm looking at the Sydney Harbour Bridge. It's nighttime. It's beautiful, right? I can see the lights on the bridge. I can see the lights shining onto the back of the Opera House. And it's a gorgeous view. And this is something that I'm not going to have in my life in 3 months. I'm going to have to move. So maybe I'll have it, maybe I won't. But there's a high probability I won't. So I also know that in these 3 months, I can't put my life on hold because I'm doing 75 hard. I'm really looking forward to spending time with my friends, with my family, bringing them into my space, into my neighborhood, and really enjoying this amazing chapter of my life, right? Where I get to live in this very beautiful part of the world. I want to make the most of that. So this is me on 75 hard. It is truly hard. And I don't mean that as a pun. I am struggling. It's day 50, and I'm very conscious that I don't want to wish that the end comes sooner. I think that's a big mistake to make when we're going through hard things, to wish that time goes faster, that things will speed up, that the next 25 days will come faster. But I don't want that to happen, because there are also many amazing things in the next 25 days, in the next 3 months, that why would I want that to vanish away? Why would I want that to fall through my hands like sand? These are things I want to hold on to. So I don't want to wish away my time, but I know I'm going to appreciate coming out of this. I don't necessarily feel, funnily enough, I am stronger, I am fitter, but I'm probably less rested than I've ever been because I'm trying to do everything. I've also brought the podcast back, but I'm grateful to be doing that. So this is me, day 50, struggling, telling you about my 75 hard journey, because I know when I finish the challenge and I record a podcast, it is going to be very different. I'm going to be looking at it from the perspective of somebody who has completed it. I remember when I did Vipassana, I imagine what I would have told you if I were able to transmit my thoughts to you midway through my first Vipassana retreat. If I could tell you on day 5 what I was feeling, or day 6, how I was feeling as I was doing Vipassana, it would be very different to what I would tell you when I completed it and naturally saw the benefits. So to those of you who are listening to this, I wish you great success on all your endeavors. You've just made it through another episode of Monologues by Hassie. It brings me great pleasure to know that you made it to the end. To listen to more episodes, subscribe on your favorite podcast app or visit monologuesbyhassie.com. Thanks for swinging by.